Hi guys and welcome to part 11 of the ultimate Loadbox comparison. As already mentioned in the last video, I was finally able to get the Xload Loadbox from Fractal Audio. The device wasn't available for quite a while, but now it's back in stock, so I've ordered it immediately. So here it is, and I have to admit the device is built rock solid with high quality, and I really like the look. The Loadbox is kept pretty simple. The only thing what it can do is to provide a line out signal of your tube amp. On the front panel you can control the DI level and the impedance curve. US means more resonance, like a Mesa cap. In UK mode the Loadbox acts more like a Marshall Greenback cabinet. Let's take a look at the backside. For using the balanced XLR out, you either have to connect a power supply or make sure that 48 volt phantom power is provided by your XLR cable. I'm going to use the output jack, which is labeled unbalanced, so the device can be used without any power supply, which is a great feature and similar to the Fractal power station in passive mode. In the final video of this series, we will compare all load boxes, and for this it's very important to use the same IRs, and because we want to be very accurate, we will also use the same IR loader, which is my XFX3. In this video we will check the tonal neutrality, reamp some guitar tracks, check the latency, the ground hum sensitivity, the noise of the device, and last but not least, we take a look at the overall response curve. None of the load boxes is sponsored, each one has been purchased with my own money. I'm not getting paid for making these videos, so I'm absolutely unbiased and not influenced by any company. Let's start with the test called Tonal Neutrality without cabinet. The resulting curve of this test should be as flat as possible. In case you want to get more information about the setup, please watch episode 1 of the series. First, let's take a look at the curve in UK mode. The curve is as flat as it can be, so let's check if something is different in US mode. Again, a great flat curve. This means in my ranking of tonal neutrality without cabinet, the Xload can easily compete with the Fractal power station and the aux Loadbox from Universal Audio. Let's continue with the test called Tonal Neutrality with Cabinet. The resulting curve of this test should be again as flat as possible. In case you want to get more information about the used setup, please watch episode 2 of this series. Let's now take a look at the curve in UK mode. The curve is as flat as it can be, so let's check if something is different in US mode. Again, a great flat curve. This means in my ranking of tonal neutrality with cabinet, the Xload shares the first place with the Fractal power station in bypass mode. For the sound tests, the Xload is used in silent mode, means without a cabinet connected, so it is set up in the same way as all other load boxes of the series. Considering the US-UK mode switch on the front panel, I have to record 2 tracks for the sounds, clean, mid-gain and high-gain, means 6 tracks in total. I will reamp the recorded DI tracks of the unprocessed guitar signal, so we can compare the results without any changes in my playing later. As always, we will start with a clean sound through my König amp. Next, my Friedman BE100 Deluxe is used for the mid-gain sound. My EVH 5150 Stealth Edition amp is used for the high gain sound. Now let's take a look at the overall response curve. For this we compared the line out of the Loadbox with the white noise signal of the amp, which was fed into the power amp via the effects return loop. For more details, simply watch episode 1. Here we have the response curve of the UK voicing mode. And as you can see, a low cut starts at 110 Hz, then there's a big dent from 120 to 5 kHz of around -5 dB, and a little high cut starting at 9 kHz of around -1 dB. Let's now take a look at the curve of the US voicing. As you can see, a low cut starts at 80 Hz, then there's a big dent from 90 to 3 kHz of around -4 dB, and kind of a high shelf starting at 2 kHz. And if we now overlay both curves and level them at 1 kHz, we can see that the main differences are in the bottom end and in the deep mids, means between 50 and 500 Hz. All frequencies above 500 Hz are quite close. As already mentioned in episode 3, the response curve represents the Loadbox and the power tube amp. More details are explained in that video. Now let's continue with the latency check, and as you can see here, the latency is around 0.3 milliseconds. By subtracting the round-trip latency of 0.3 milliseconds, we have a total latency of 0 milliseconds, which is exactly what I would expect from a fully analog device. Now let's check the ground hum sensitivity. And as you can see in the diagram, I'm using two DI boxes, one straight after the output of the audio interface and another after the line out of the Loadbox. For the test I'm using the high gain channel of my EVH amp, so we can clearly hear a difference. We will do 4 tests, first with both DI boxes engaged in the signal chain, next without the second DI box, then without any DI box, and finally without the first DI box. As you could hear, the first 2 setups worked perfect. In the third configuration, the ground hum was so massive that it leads to a feedback. The behavior is similar to the Sir reactive load. In the fourth configuration, you can also hear a massive ground hum. The Loadbox has an internal fan which turns on when the applied power exceeds 30 watts to protect the electronics from overheating. As you could hear, there is not much noise. Some sound noise is audible, which mainly comes from the amp tubes. The Loadbox itself provides less noise than the amp. In the next episode, we will finally find out if there's a clear winner or not by comparing all results. In that video, I will also do 2 more tests for dynamics and line out level to ensure that all relevant aspects are taken into account. So please press like, subscribe and stay tuned for the last video of the series.